before there were hashtags, before there were viral videos, before the world could watch injustice unfold in real time, there were songs.
We must begin to tell our young.
Songs sung in churches, songs whispered in jail cells, songs carried through marches, boycotts, and moments when hope felt impossible to find.
The world has changed so very much from what it used to be.
For generations of Black Americans, music was more than entertainment. It was testimony. It was resistance. It was survival.
Some say the blacker the better, the sweeter the juice. I say the darker the flesh and the deeper the root.
Welcome to Retro Vinyl. Today, we're counting down 12 songs that helped shape the Black freedom struggle. From soul and jazz to funk, reggae, and hip-hop. Some were banned. Some sparked controversy. And one was so powerful it told the story of a national tragedy without using a single word.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but...
These are the songs that refuse to stay silent. And the stories behind them are even more remarkable than the music itself.
But I've got my pride and I'm moving on aside.
Number 12, Keep on Pushing, The Impressions, 1964.
Now maybe someday I'll reach that higher goal.
Curtis Mayfield was 22 years old when he wrote a song the Freedom Riders would sing on the buses they boarded into the segregated South. These were young Black Americans voluntarily traveling into violent opposition to challenge Jim Crow transportation laws.
Move up a little higher, some way or somehow.
And according to civil rights leader Andy Young, who told Mayfield directly, they sang Keep on Pushing during the Freedom's Marches because it gave them inspiration to keep on doing what they were doing.
Got my strength and it don't make sense not to keep.
Mayfield wrote with a deliberately coded gospel voice, soft enough for radio, precise enough to cut. He once explained that he was capable of saying these things without making a person feel as though they were being preached at. The song reached number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 4 on the R&B chart in 1964.
I know I can make it.
Music historian David Nathan would write in the liner notes to People Get Ready, the Curtis Mayfield story, that Keep on Pushing was, in the context of popular music, arguably the first song ever to urge African Americans to move ahead, strive for social justice, and refuse to accept the status quo.
Now look, look yonder.
1 year before the record dropped, Mayfield had become one of the first African Americans in history to own his own music publishing company. The revolution was already in the groove.
What I say, keep on.
But inspiration would soon give way to outrage. And one artist responded to tragedy with a song so fearless that radio stations literally destroyed it.
Tell me, I'll tell you. Me and my people just about do.
Number 11, Mississippi Goddam, Nina Simone, 1964.
Picket lines, school boycotts. They try to say it's a communist plot.
September 15th, 1963. Nina Simone is in her living room in Mount Vernon, New York, watching the news. 4 Black girls, Addie Mae Collins, Cynthia Wesley, Carol Robertson, and Denise McNair, have just been murdered inside the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama.
Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest.
A bomb planted by Ku Klux Klan members tore through the church at 10:22 in the morning while they were preparing to sing in the choir. The youngest was 11 years old. Simone later described what happened next in her own words. At first, I tried to make myself a gun. I gathered some materials. I was going to take one of them out.
I can't stand the pressure much longer. Somebody say a prayer.
Her husband stopped her. He said, Nina, you can't kill anyone. You are a musician. Do what you do. She sat down. She wrote Mississippi Goddam in under an hour.
Lord have mercy on the land of mine. We all gonna get it in due time.
The song was performed live at Carnegie Hall in March 1964 to a mostly white audience who initially laughed at the opening lines. They assumed it was satire. Somewhere in the middle, the laughter stopped.
I've been there, so I know they keep on saying go slow.
The single was later banned across large portions of the United States for having the word Goddam in its title. Radio stations in the South returned their copies physically snapped in half.
All I want is equality for my sister, my brother, my people, and me.
The Library of Congress has preserved Mississippi Goddam in the National Recording Registry as a work of cultural and historical significance. Simone called it her first civil rights song. She never stopped making them.
Mississippi Goddam.
If Nina Simone gave the movement its anger, the next artist gave it something equally important: pride.
Look here. Some people say we got a lot of malice. Some say it's a lot of nerve.
Number 10, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, James Brown, 1968.
You as it take 2 eyes to make a pair. Brother, we can't quit.
James Brown is in Los Angeles in the summer of 1968, just 4 months after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. He is watching infighting, grief, and fractures spreading through black communities across the city.
We've been buked, and we've been scorned. We've been treated bad, talking.
His close friend Al Sharpton recalled Brown saying, "We've lost our pride." That night, Brown went to his hotel room and wrote the most politically charged song of his career on a napkin. On August 7, 1968, he recorded it at Vox Studios in Van Nuys, California. The band arranged in a circle watching him for hand cues, capturing the energy of a live show.
Say it loud. Say it loud.
His manager Charles Bobbitt later recalled at Brown's funeral exactly what happened next. "I got an old school bus and we rode around Watts and got 30 children, brought them down to the studio, recorded Say It Loud. I gave them $10 each and a James Brown album."
We'd rather die on our feet. Keep living on our knees. Say it.
That's how the song that you love so well was played. Brown deliberately chose children for the call and response so that a generation would grow up with those words already inside them.
Brother, we can't quit until we get our share. Say it loud.
The song held number 1 on the R&B chart for 6 consecutive weeks and peaked at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. Chuck D of Public Enemy said that as an 8-year-old, Say It Loud was very clear to him.
We're tired of beating our heads against the wall and working for someone else. Look at you.
The song was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. In 1984, Brown said it had done more for the black race than any other record. He remained conflicted about it until his death. That conflict was its own kind of honesty.
Now we demand a chance to do things for ourselves. We're tired of beating our head against the wall.
But not every revolutionary carried a microphone. Some carried a notebook. And one poet would change the language of protest forever.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out.
Number 9, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, Gil Scott-Heron, 1971.
There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis.
He was 21 years old when he wrote it. A poet before anything else, Gil Scott-Heron composed this track as a direct assault on the passivity that commercial media was breeding in a generation that needed to be awake.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruption.
The song first appeared in 1970 as a purely spoken piece on his debut album, recorded live with only congas and bongo drums. In 1971, Scott-Heron and his partner Brian Jackson rebuilt it.
The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and
Jackson added flute, warm jazz rhythms replaced the bare percussion, and the rebuilt version found its way onto American radio for the first time. The title itself had already been circulating as a Black Power slogan for years. Scott-Heron made it a manifesto.
you will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution.
His message was precise. The revolution cannot be packaged, sponsored, or broadcast. The real transformation is internal. It begins in the mind. You cannot watch it from your couch. You have to become it. He said it in a later interview himself. The first change that takes place is in your mind. You have to change your mind before you change the way you live.
The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not.
In a painful irony, Scott Heron allowed the song to be licensed for a Nike television advertisement in 1994, a decision he spent the rest of his life regretting.
Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women...
He was battling addiction and desperate for money. Until his death in 2011, he was simultaneously proud of the song's power and devastated by how it had been hollowed out. The Library of Congress preserves it. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2021. History confirmed he was right about almost everything.
Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised.
Our next song wasn't written for a movement at all. Yet somehow it became one of the most powerful songs of liberation ever recorded.
Brighter days will soon be here.
Number 8, Someday We'll All Be Free, Donny Hathaway, 1973.
Hang on to the world.
Here is the fact about this song that changes everything. It was never written about the civil rights movement. Lyricist Edward Howard wrote it specifically for Donny Hathaway, his collaborator and friend who had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia in 1971 and was suffering deeply.
Things are moving fast.
Howard explained it plainly. What was going through my mind at the time was Donny, because Donny was a very troubled person. I hoped that at some point he would be released from all that he was going through. There was nothing I could do but write something that might be encouraging for him.
Hold on tight and you will last.
When Hathaway heard the final mix in the studio, his wife Eulala recalled what happened. He literally sat in the studio and cried. It's pretty special when an artist can create something that wipes them out.
Keep your self-respect.
The song never charted in 1973. It was the B-side of a forgotten single. And yet it became one of the most covered and most emotionally resonant anthems of Black survival in recorded history.
Your man be right.
On September 11th, 2001, radio stations across America played it in the hours after the towers fell, because the grief and the hope in it belonged to no single crisis and no single generation. Donny Hathaway died on January 13th, 1979. He was 33 years old. He never got to see how free the song made everyone else.
From me, someday we'll all be free.
We've reached the halfway point of this important countdown. So far, we've heard songs born from church bombings, political upheaval, personal suffering, and the determination of people who refused to accept the world as it was.
And everybody knows about Mississippi gone down.
These are not just songs. They are dispatches from the front lines of a struggle that never fully ended, written by artists who had every reason to stay quiet and chose not to.
I've got to keep on pushing.
But the second half of this countdown goes even deeper, because the songs ahead didn't just reflect history. They helped create it.
We've been built and we've been scorned. We've been treated bad, dog.
If this journey is resonating with you, hit that like button, subscribe to Retro Vinyl, and tell us which song has impacted you the most. The stories still ahead are among the most powerful ever put to music. Stay with us.
NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not...
From personal freedom to collective responsibility, the next record challenged an entire generation to do better.
No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead.
Number 7, Wake Up Everybody, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, 1975.
The world has changed so very much from what it used to be.
This is not just a story about a song. It is a story about the greatest voice nobody gave enough credit to, and the jealousy that tried to contain it.
There's so much hatred, war and poverty.
Teddy Pendergrass joined Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes in 1970 as a drummer. His vocal ability was so obvious in rehearsals that Melvin elevated him to lead singer within months.
Wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. They're the ones.
What followed was a 4-year run at Philadelphia International Records, produced by the legendary team of Gamble and Huff. That included If You Don't Know Me By Now, The Love I Lost, and the extraordinary Wake Up Everybody.
The ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach
The song was recorded at Sigma Sound Studios in Philadelphia in 1975. Written by Victor Karstafen, Gene McFadden, and John Whitehead, it was a building 6-minute call to social conscience, addressing education, poverty, the environment, and the urgent need for a generation to stand up.
when you teach the children, teach them the very best you can.
It hit number 1 on the Billboard Soul Singles chart for 2 consecutive weeks and reached number 12 on the Hot 100. By the time the chart run ended, the tension between Harold Melvin and Teddy Pendergrass was at its breaking point.
Yeah, it don't matter. We gotta change it, just you and me.
Pendergrass wanted the group renamed. He believed, not without reason, that his voice was why the record sold. In 1976, at the height of their commercial power, he quit and went solo. He released 4 consecutive platinum albums.
Wake up all the doctors, make the old people well.
When you hear Wake Up Everybody today, you are hearing the sound of a man who had already outgrown the room that was trying to hold him.
Surely things will work out. They do it every time.
But while some artists called for change, others demanded it. And nobody delivered that message with more force than the next group.
Seeking my satisfaction keeps me on the run.
Number 6, Fight the Power, the Isley Brothers, 1975.
Smile is in the making. We gotta fight the powers that be.
Before Public Enemy detonated those 3 words into hip-hop history, it was a ferocious funk anthem by 3 brothers from Cincinnati who were done asking for anything and starting to demand everything.
I try to play my music, they say my music's too loud. I try talking about.
The Isley Brothers released Fight the Power in 1975, nearly 15 years into their career, and it was the most confrontational music they had ever recorded.
I roll with the punches. I got knocked on the ground by all this bullshit.
The song directly addressed racial oppression, economic injustice, and political corruption, urging Black Americans to stop appealing to a system that had never recognized their full humanity.
Time is truly wasted. There's no guarantee.
Fight the Power hit number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart and reached number 4 on the pop chart. It was the year the Vietnam War ended, the year FBI infiltration of Black activist organizations was being exposed, and the year urban Black communities were being systematically defunded and abandoned.
Even you and I can't fight the power. Come on, fight it.
A teenager on Long Island named Chuck D heard the song in the mid-1970s and later says it was the first time he had heard a profanity in music, and it lit something inside him that never went out.
Got so many voices. Say it on the same.
14 years later, he wrote his own Fight the Power and carried the Isley Brothers' defiance into a new era. The Isley Brothers built the foundation. Chuck D came back and detonated the entire building. The next song was written by a man facing his own mortality, and it became one of the greatest freedom anthems ever recorded. Number 5, Redemption Song, Bob Marley, 1980.
Old pirate, yes, the rabbi.
He already knew he was dying when he wrote it. Bob Marley was diagnosed with malignant melanoma in the summer of 1977, beginning as a cancer beneath a toenail. His Rastafarian faith prevented him from accepting the amputation doctors recommended.
Sold I to the merchant ships.
By 1979, the cancer had spread. He kept writing, he kept recording, he kept going. The most famous lines in the song, "Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds," were drawn directly from a 1937 speech by Pan-Africanist leader Marcus Garvey, delivered in Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None.
Marley lifted those words with deliberate reverence, tracing a line of liberation philosophy across 4 decades and 2 hemispheres.
None but ourselves can free our minds.
Producer Chris Blackwell heard the full band version and told Marley to strip it down. Just voice, just guitar, one man, one acoustic guitar, nothing to hide behind.
But my hand was made strong.
On September 21st, 1980, Marley collapsed during a morning jog in Central Park in New York City. Doctors confirmed the cancer had spread to his lungs, liver, and brain.
We forward in this generation.
2 days later, on September 23rd, he gave the last concert of his life in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Would you live to sing another song of freedom?
He introduced Redemption Song that night as this little song. Bob Marley died on May 11th, 1981. He was 36 years old.
Is all I ever have, redemption.
From reggae spiritual wisdom, we move into the harsh realities of urban America and a record that changed hip-hop forever.
Can't take the smell, can't take the noise. Got no money to move out, I guess I got no choice.
Number 4, The Message, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, 1982.
Broken glass everywhere. People pissing on the stage, you know they just don't care. I can't take the smell.
Here's what actually happened, because the real story is wilder than the legend. The Message was not written by Grandmaster Flash. It was written primarily by a Sugar Hill Records session musician named Ed Fletcher, who went by Duke Booty, working from a demo he composed in his mother's basement in 1980.
Rats in the front room, roaches in the back, junkies in the alley with the baseball bat. I try to get away.
When label boss Sylvia Robinson brought it to Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Flash and the entire group hated it. They openly laughed at it. Flash himself later recalled the subject matter wasn't happy. It wasn't a party song. We would laugh at it.
Crazy lady living in a bag, eating out of garbage pails, used to be a fag hag, such a that's the tang.
Robinson ignored them. She paired Mel Mel with Duke Booty and recorded the track without the group's agreement. Grandmaster Flash had no involvement in the actual recording whatsoever.
A child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind.
The song was released on July 1st, 1982. It sold 500,000 copies in 1 month. The Message was the first hip-hop record that proved rap could be the inner city's voice, not just its party soundtrack.
God is smiling on you, but he's frowning too, because only God knows what you'll go through.
Rolling Stone declared it plainly. The first record to prove that rap could become the inner city's voice, as well as its choice. It painted black urban life in New York, broken glass, poverty, crime, and mental collapse, with a precision and a coldness no one had heard in hip-hop before.
But now your eyes sing the sad, sad song of how you live so fast and die so young, so don't.
It is preserved in the Library of Congress National Recording Registry. The group that almost refused to make it is remembered forever because of it.
It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
But one song wasn't enough. A new generation heard the message and turned the volume all the way up.
What we need is awareness. We can't get careless. You say, what is this?
Number 3, Fight the Power, Public Enemy, 1989.
Hey, listen if you're missing, y'all. Swinging while I'm singing. Hey, give it what you get.
Spike Lee came to Chuck D with a request: write an anthem for his new film, Do the Right Thing. Lee's original vision was for Public Enemy to record a hip-hop version of Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem. Bomb Squad producer Hank Shockley killed that idea immediately.
Now that you realize the prize arrives, we got to pump the stuff to make it hot. From the heart.
He told Lee it had to sound like something blasting from a car in Brooklyn on the hottest Saturday of the year. Lee said, I wanted it to be defiant, I wanted it to be angry, I wanted it to be rhythmic. I thought right away of Public Enemy.
We are the same, no one not the same, cause we don't know the game. What we need.
Chuck D drew on his memory of the Isley Brothers' 1975 version and wrote Fight the Power as a direct conversation across 14 years of black resistance.
Give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey, our freedom of speech.
The Bomb Squad built a production that sampled civil rights exhortations, black church services, and a collage of funk and noise that sounded like a city at its absolute breaking point.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
The song plays over 15 times throughout Do the Right Thing. From the opening scene where Rosie Perez dances to it, through to the moment Sal smashes Radio Raheem's boombox with a baseball bat.
Don't worry, be happy. For the number one jam. Damn if I said you could slap me right here.
In May 1989, before the film released, a member of the group made anti-Semitic statements to a Washington newspaper. Chuck D fired him and announced the group was dissolving, specifically to protect Spike Lee's film from being tainted by the controversy.
What we need is awareness. We can't get careless. You say, what is this?
Once the film opened in July, Public Enemy resumed. The video was filmed as a real political rally in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, not a staged concert. The song was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2018. Prince covered it live in 1999.
To make everybody see, in order to fight the powers that be.
The next artist spoke about freedom from a different perspective, one rooted in compassion, dignity, and the struggles of Black women.
And since we all came from a woman, got our name from a woman, and I came from a woman.
Number 2, Keep Your Head Up, Tupac, 1993.
Some say the blacker the better, the sweeter the juice. I say the darker the flesh, and the deeper the root.
The music video opens with a dedication, in white letters on a black screen, dedicated to the memory of Latasha Harlins. It's still on.
I think it's time to kill for our women, time to heal our women, be real to our women.
Latasha Harlins was 15 years old when she was shot in the back of the head on March 2nd, 1991, in a Los Angeles convenience store. The store owner who killed her was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and sentenced to 5 years of probation, 400 hours of community service, and a $500 fine.
Remember Marvin Gaye used to sing to me. He had me feeling like black was the thing to be.
No prison time. Her death, coming weeks after the videotaped beating of Rodney King, was one of the primary flashpoints that ignited the Los Angeles riots of 1992.
You know it's funny when it rains, it pours. They got money for wars, but can't feed the poor.
Tupac built Keep Your Head Up around a sample from Zapp's Be Alright, featuring Roger Troutman's iconic talkbox, and wove in the hook from Ooh Child by the Five Stairsteps, a song that had already carried its own generation through its own crisis 23 years earlier.
Said it ain't no hope for the youth, and the truth is it ain't no hope for the future.
He wrote about women's bodily autonomy, poverty, single mothers, and absent fathers with a clarity and a love that most artists never find. The song reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 on October 28, 1993.
We ain't meant to survive because it's a setup, and even though you're fed up.
In 2022, it trended globally on TikTok after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, because the lines Tupac wrote in 1993 still described a reality that had not been resolved. Tupac Shakur was murdered in Las Vegas on September 13, 1996. He was 25 years old. Many songs on this list used powerful words to demand justice. Our number 1 song does something even harder. It says almost everything without saying anything at all. Number 1, Alabama, John Coltrane, 1963. There are no lyrics in this song, no chorus, no slogan, no speech, just a saxophone. And yet Alabama may be one of the most powerful civil rights recordings ever made. On September 15, 1963, members of the Ku Klux Klan bombed the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. 4 young black girls were killed while preparing for Sunday services. Addie Mae Collins, Cynthia Wesley, Carol Robertson, and Denise McNair. More than 20 others were injured. The tragedy shocked the nation. Among those deeply affected was jazz giant John Coltrane. Coltrane was known as a spiritual musician who believed music could express what words could not. After reading Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s eulogy for the girls, he began composing a musical response. Rather than writing a protest song with lyrics, Coltrane did something extraordinary. He translated the emotional rhythm and cadence of King's speech into music. The rise and fall of his saxophone mirrors the sorrow, dignity, and determination found in King's words. On November 18, 1963, Coltrane and his quartet entered the studio and recorded Alabama. The performance unfolds like a funeral procession, quiet, reflective, heavy with grief. Then gradually, the music gathers strength. The drums begin to rise. The saxophone becomes more urgent. The sorrow never disappears, but it transforms into resolve. Released in 1964, Alabama was never a hit record. It didn't climb the charts. It wasn't made for commercial success. It was made to bear witness. John Coltrane died in 1967 at just 40 years old, but Alabama remains one of the most profound musical responses ever created to racial violence and injustice. Four little girls lost their lives that September morning. John Coltrane made sure the world would never forget them. 12 songs, 4 decades, countless voices refusing to be erased. Some of these artists marched on the front lines. Some spoke through poetry. Some challenged power directly.
Don't you see it? I know you can feel it. It's all in the air.
And one chose to mourn 4 little girls with nothing but a saxophone and the truth. These artists faced violence, censorship, broken promises, and systems designed to silence them. None of it stopped their music from reaching the people who needed it most.
To make everybody see, in order to fight the powers that be.
The stories may be different, but the message is the same. Freedom has always had a soundtrack. And this music is more than history. It is a living document. Every time you press play on one of these records, you are choosing to remember something the world should never forget.
God is smiling on you, but he's frowning too, because only God knows what you'll go through.
This is Retro Vinyl. If you enjoyed this countdown, subscribe and join us for more deep dives into the music and stories that shape generations.
Great big stone wall stands there ahead of me.
And before you go, tell us your number 1 in the comments. Which song on this list still speaks to our world today, and why? Until next time, keep the needle on the record and the volume where it belongs.
Revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen. The revolution will not be televised.